Welcome back to the Teacher's AI Cafe. I'm Kane, a teacher and a parent who wants AI to give us back our time. I share practical classroom-tested AI strategies to cut down your workload, improve your feedback and reduce stress so you can get your evenings back and be more present with your friends and family. No jargon, just actionable steps. Grab your mug. Now let's get going. Today, I'm going to walk you through a repeatable process for using deep research tools on different AI platforms. I guess ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and so forth. Now, this is not about general research skills. This is specifically about how to prompt and run AI deep research tool that's built into the system so the output is more accurate, more relevant to your classroom, and less likely to drift into confident, generic advice. Here is the key idea. Deep research tools perform best when you reduce ambiguity, constrain the task, and force the tool to show it's working. If you don't do that, the tool will still produce something polished, but you don't know what to trust. And you need to be able to repeat the process. So the routine I've actually broken down into 2 stages to get a better effect or better outcome. Stage 1 is for vocabulary and direction. Stage 2 is verification and translation into a classroom deliverable, because this is a teacher's podcast. What I'm going to do is not only explain what to do, but why each step is important to the output. So stage 0, set the guardrails before you press run. Before you ask the tool to research anything, you anchor the task with a single sentence. For example, one sentence of research intent may be, I want evidence to help me teach blank to blank students so they can blank measured by blank. So you fill in your own details there. So why does this matter? Because deep research tools do not struggle to generate content. They do it very well. They struggle with choosing the right content when the task is vague. A single intent statement narrows the search space, tells the tool what matters, what does not, and what success should actually look like in your classroom. Also stops it being pulled into interesting but irrelevant tangents. And this is less so, obviously, with the new models as they're coming out, as I've spoken about previously. After the intent, you need to add your guardrails in the prompt. And this is the second part of stage 0. You need to specify 4 things. Your content, meaning the subject and the year level. Your outcome, meaning what students will produce. What's your goal? The evidence standard, meaning the types of sources you want and at what level. And verification rule, meaning how the tool must cite and label its claims. So basically its sources. Where does it get the information from? As we know, that's very important because anything can be put on the internet nowadays or online in different forms. So why does this improve results? Because guardrails force the tool to rank and filter the information. Without guardrails, the tool tries to satisfy every possible interpretation, which usually produces generic lists. When you specify, prioritize peer-reviewed research and reputable organizations, provide links, label source types, and separate evidence from opinion, you reduce the model's tendency to overstate conclusions and increase its traceability or its reliability. A simpler version of this you can paste in. I'm planning for year X. Want strategies that improve blank. This is measured by blank. Prioritize peer-reviewed research and reputable education organizations, provide source links, label each source type, and provide evidence from opinion. Separate evidence from opinion. Now let's go through stage 1. We use the tool to build a vocabulary and direction in the tool. So stage 1 is where many teachers go wrong because they ask for the full solution immediately. A full lesson plan, full activities, full differentiation, full assessment. The tool will comply, but often fill gaps with plausible sounding material, not necessarily the best. So stage 1 is not the final product. Stage 1 is the map to get to your final product. So 1.1, run a stage 1 prompt that asks the terms. Stage 1 prompt asks for terms and recurring findings. For example, the prompt could be, return 10 to 15 key terms and synonyms used in the research literature on X. Then return 6 to 8 recurring findings that appear across credible sources, including commonly cited frameworks. Provide links. Label each source as peer-reviewed, reputable organizations, or practitioner summary. So what does this help? Because it gives the tool a safer, clearer path, you're not only being asked to prescribe an intervention yet. It's been asked to identify vocabulary and patterns that is easier to do accurately, and it gives you a language you need for the next step. The best deep research outputs depend on the quality of the search language. And stage 1 builds that. And remember, when I talked about careers, language and literacy is the most important skill with AI. Step 1.2, skim for the signal only, not the detail. So what we mean by this is when the results come back, do not treat them as the final answer. Treat them as raw inputs. And you pull 4 items only, 10 to 15 different terms and synonyms, 5 to 8 repeated key points, 3 to 5 name frameworks, and 3 to 5 high-value sources to revisit. So we're refining our sources down to what we know are good points. So why does this improve your AI results? Because you're creating the input set for you to give you feedback for stage 2. A smaller, cleaner input set leads to sharper prompting because you've got a better data set. When you dump too much back into the tool, it starts to average across competing ideas again. When you feed back a short list of strong signals, you get a more coherent and more evidence-aligned output. So here we come to 1.3. When we want to build a keyword bank, including exclusions. Ask the tool to format a keyword bank with 4 columns. You want a core term, synonyms and variants, related concepts, and exclusions. The reasons we do that for deep research tools is because the retrieval is highly sensitive to wording. Synonyms can increase recall, meaning tool finds relevant sources even when different authors use different terminology. Because the terminology and words I may use might be different to someone else, even though we have the same intent. Exclusions prevent topic drift. If you do not tell the tool what to exclude, it will often wander into adjacent debates. That's interesting, but not really useful for your specific classroom goal. Step 1.4, convert the repeated points into focus questions. Now they'll convert the stage 1 patterns into a stage 2 questions using the frame. Under what conditions does blank improve blank for blank? And what are the limits or trade-offs? Why does this matter? Because questions are constraints. Focus questions focus the tool to collect evidence and matches specific claims. It also pushes it to consider context, which students, which conditions, which settings, and which limitations. By end of stage 1, you should be able to, let's try that again. My phone read. At the end of stage 1, you should have 1 page, not 10. Intent, keyword bank, repeated findings, candidate questions, and best sources. Now we actually move on to stage 2. So stage 2 is we verify the claims and translate into one of the classroom deliverables. Stage 2 is where you move from information to action. It's also where the risk of confident error is its highest unless you build in checks. So 2.1, we need to focus on 1 question only. Like I said, we don't want to hit it with lots of questions and try and get a single big answer. Pick 1 question from stage 1. Why does choosing 1 question improve results? Because it reduces the multi-objective confusion. Because it reduces the multi-objective confusion. The tool can pursue depth instead of breadth. It becomes more likely to find stronger sources, summarize them accurately, and keep the output coherent. It also makes it more likely that you will implement the outcome. Step 2.2 is run a stage 2 prompt that forces evidence, limits, and implications. Here is an example of a stage 2 prompt. Using the keyword bank below, investigate this single question. Prioritize peer-reviewed studies, meta-analysis, and reputable organizations. For each major claim, provide supporting evidence, limits, or counter-evidence, and practical implications for secondary classroom, which is obviously my context. Include source links for every claim. Then generate 1 classroom deliverable, blank, with a keyword blank. So why does this become more effective than other prompts? Because it forces the tool to show it's working. It does not allow it to present a claim without attaching it to evidence. Requiring limits to counter evidence, it reduces one-sided summaries and pushes the tool to acknowledge uncertainty and mixed findings, which is essential for building trust and getting the best result. Step 2.3, apply a verification routine. This is where many people just ignore and simply skip. It is the step that makes the whole process actually defensible, so they can say, yes, this is the right answer that I've got. So we do 3 checks, or we should do 3 checks. Check 1, open at least 2 of the most important links to confirm the sources are real and relevant. Check 2, confirm the claim is actually supported by the source. Check 3, triangulate. For any claim you plan to act on, require at least 2 independent sources that broadly align or 1 high-quality synthesis. So why does this matter specifically for your AI tools compared to different ways of getting information? Because the tool can summarize loosely, misattributed, or even overgeneralized. Verification forces alignment between the claim and the source. It prevents you building a lesson on a claim that was not truly supported. And being a history teacher, I often have debates and questions of things that people see online, particularly through social media, that's been made or made up or totally misconstrued, and they think that's actually real. Like I said, we've got to go through other steps. We've also got to teach our students to go through these steps as well. And what you want to ask the tool to actually self-audit itself. So list the 3 most important claims you made, and for each provide 2 independent sources that support it. If you cannot, flag the claim as tentative. That single line often improves the integrity of the output. Now, step 2.4 is take the evidence notes in a fixed 3-line format. So use this format for each claim. Have the claim, the evidence with the citation and link, and the classroom implications. We want to do this because it reduces the interpretive drift. It keeps the claims distinct and it turns research into actions. It also makes it easier for you to reuse the notes later. Share them with colleagues and justify your approach if you're doing, say, professional discussions. For example, if you're looking at a new pedagogical approach to a problem or way of teaching. You want that evidence behind you to be confident in what you're expressing is correct. Step 2.5, produce 1 classroom asset only. Now translate the evidence into 1 deliverable. Choose 1, a scaffold, a work example, a mini rubric, a short revised lesson sequence, a student inquiry task, or a curated source set. Why only 1? Because it specifically improves the output quality. When you ask for many assets, the tool spreads attention and starts to become more generic. When you ask for 1 asset in the right constraints, the tool is far more likely to produce something to a coherent and classroom ready. Give it precise instructions. For example, create a 1-page source analysis scaffold for Year 10 history aligned to the claims above. Include 1 worked example and 3 guided practice prompts. 2.6. Close the loop with 1 impact check. Finally, choose 1 quick measure, an exit ticket, 1 question pre or post, small marking sample, whatever you want to do. Now, how does this impose future results? Because it creates feedback. Once you have evidence of what has worked and what did not work with your students, you fill the information into your next stage 1 intent and put it as part of your guardrails. The tool becomes more accurate because your constraints become more grounded, more consistent, more accurate because they're proven. So a prompt might go like this: create a 2-minute exit ticket that measures the skill targeted by the scaffold with an answer guide. Okay, so before I finish, 3 mistakes to avoid. First, asking for a full lesson plan in stage 1. It increases confident filler. Second, trusting citations without actually opening the sources. Links are not validation. Check they exist. Third, ending with notes and no classroom asset. Implementation is the whole point of where we started. So if you want a repeatable quality from deep research tools and you need a repeatable workflow, follow this one. Stage 0, set your guardrails. Stage 1, build vocabulary and direction. Stage 2, verify the claims, focus on evidence and limits, and produce 1 classroom asset plus 1 impact checked. Of course, once you do that, it becomes a repeatable process. You can then create another classroom asset because you've already gone through this process with those particular sources. So you can use this sequence consistently and deep research. Let's try that again. Use this sequence consistently and deep research. I don't want to get that word out today. Let's try it again. Use this sequence consistently, and deep research becomes a reliable teaching tool rather than a one-off gamble, as it is for many people at the moment. If you want, share 1 topic you're teaching next, plus the student outcome that you want. I can produce a copy of stage 1 prompt, copy, ready stage 2 prompt, and a verification prompt as a small prompt that you can reuse. Now, obviously, I've covered a lot of material in there. If you want access to the notes there's a link in the show notes. Just click on there and subscribe to my newsletter. I've gone down that path now. And you'll actually get access to a Google Drive folder that'll actually have all my cheat sheets and things that I've developed and dropped in there. So I can download them all at once. And I'm just going to start sending out the written emails, sort of those tips, and as well as the content on the podcast. Until then, have a very Merry Christmas. Today is the 24th of December, so it's Christmas Eve. And may it bring you much joy and happiness and time with your family. And until then, look after yourself, enjoy the break, recharge yourself, and I'll talk to you next week.